Namaskar viewers, good evening. Welcome to Sansad Television. It's 9 p.m. Time for the news with me, Rajiv Kumar Singh. Former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has been assassinated after being shot in Nara, Japan. This and much more from the national and international front over the next half an hour. Let us begin with the headlines. Cloudburst near Amarnath cave, 10 people feared killed, at least 40 missing. Relief and rescue work underway. Former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe assassinated. Suspected attacker arrested. President, Vice President, Prime Minister and world leaders express grief. Real economic growth not possible without inclusion, asserts Prime Minister Modi in his address at the Arun Jaitley Memorial Lecture. 27 newly elected members of Rajya Sabha, including Union Ministers Nirmala Sitharaman and Piyush Goyal, take oath. Chairman appeals to members to maintain dignity of the House. G20 foreign ministers meet in Bali, struggle to reach consensus on current global challenges, including food and energy security. Let us now look at some more important news of the day in the Flash segment. Defence Ministry to organize GENNEXT AI Solution event on 11th of July, focus to be on showcasing government's AI initiative in defence sector in the last 3 years. Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandviya reviews preparedness for prevention of vector-borne diseases with 13 high-burden states, exhorts states to ensure inter-sectoral coordination. Union Minister Anurag Thakur virtually launches portal for schemes of a Department of Sports, asks PSUs and corporate houses to contribute to National Sports Development Fund. India-China bilateral relations showing momentum of recovery, says Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, asserts that both countries have maintained communication and managed differences since March. Vivo India remitted rupees 62,476 crore between 2017 and 2021 to China to avoid taxes, says Enforcement Directorate. 18 companies incorporated fraudulently helped Vivo transfer money. Akasa Air receives air operator certificate from aviation regulator DGCA to start commercial operations. Airline will commence commercial operations later this month. Over 79,000 pilgrims from India participating in Hajj pilgrimage this year. Pilgrims spent Thursday night at Mina. Indian Army to start recruitment rallies under Agnipath scheme from next month. Rallies to begin from August 12th and go on till December across the country, covering all districts. ED imposes rupees 51.72 crore fine on Amnesty India. CEO Akar Patel fined rupees 10 crore. Both Amnesty and Akar allegedly contravened provisions of FEMA. Marnus Labuschagne and Stephen Smith hit centuries on day one of a second test against Sri Lanka at Galle. Australia are 298 for 5 at stumps on first day. Former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, one of the nation's most powerful and influential figures, died after being shot during a campaign speech on Friday. 67-year-old Abe was shot from behind minutes after he started his speech in Nara.
Former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was giving a campaign speech outside a train station on Friday when 2 gunshots rang out. Abe collapsed on the street. He was immediately airlifted to a hospital for emergency treatment, but was not breathing and his heart had stopped. Security guards arrested the suspected gunman, who apparently used a double-barrel device that appeared to be a handmade gun. The attack shocked Japan, one of the world's safest nations with the strictest gun control laws. Police identified the attacker as 41-year-old Tetsuya Yamagami. He served in the Maritime Self-Defense Force for 3 years in the 2000s. The shooting comes 2 days before the elections for Japan's upper house, the less powerful chamber of its parliament, on Sunday. Prime Minister Kishida and his cabinet ministers cut short their campaign events to return to Tokyo. Kishida said the government planned to review Abe's security, but added that he had the highest protection.
どうか一命を取り留めていただきたいと祈っておりましたが、祈りも虚しく、こうした方に接することになってしまったこと、誠に残念であり、言葉もありません。心よりご冥福をお祈りしたいと思います。
Abe was Japan's longest-serving leader before he stepped down for health reasons in 2020. Abe was a political blue blood who was groomed to follow in the footsteps of grandfather, former Prime Minister Kishi. He became Japan's youngest Prime Minister in 2006 at the age of 52. The end of Abe's first stint as Prime Minister was the beginning of 6 years of instability. When he returned to office in 2012, Abe pledged to revitalize the nation and get its economy out of its deflationary doldrums with the Abenomics formula, which combines fiscal stimulus, monetary easing and structural reforms. He won 6 national elections and bolstered Japan's defense role and capability and its security alliance with the US. He also stepped up patriotic education at schools and raised Japan's international profile. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed deep grief over the assassination of the former Prime Minister of Japan. He said in a tweet that the nation is shocked by the attack on Abe. His thoughts and prayers are with Abe's family and the people of Japan.
मेरे घनिष्ठ मित्र और जापान के पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री श्री शिंजो आबे अब हमारे बीच नहीं रहे हैं। आबा जी मेरे तो साथी थे ही, वो भारत के भी उतने ही विश्वसनीय दोस्त थे।
Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha Harivansh expressed grief over the passing away of Shinzo Abe, remembering Abe's deep and abiding friendship with India and the Prime Minister Modi. He said Japan had lost a remarkable and visionary leader. The centre declared a day of national mourning in honor of a former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The tricolour will be flown at half-mast on all buildings in India, where it is regularly hoisted on Saturday. A cloudburst hit areas around the lower reaches of the Amarnath cave at around 5:30 p.m. on Friday. 10 people were killed and at least 40 are reported missing. Prime Minister Modi expressed anguish over the incident. He said that all possible steps are being taken to ensure the safety of the pilgrims. Home Minister Amit Shah directed LG Manoj Sinha to take immediate steps to rescue all stranded devotees. The ITBP said its teams are conducting rescue operations along with other agencies. Water reportedly came down from above the cave after heavy rains in the upper reaches. The gushing torrent entered tents where langars were being conducted. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on Friday held separate bilateral talks with his counterparts from several nations on the sidelines of G20 foreign ministers meeting in Bali. Jaishankar held talks with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, focusing on a range of challenges with greater understanding and openness. The Ukraine crisis is believed to have figured in the talks. External Affairs Minister also held talks with his French counterpart, Catherine Colonna, focusing on various aspects of bilateral ties as well as ways to deal with major global challenges in the face of geopolitical turmoil. The minister also held talks with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov on pressing global issues, including the crisis in Ukraine and the situation in Afghanistan. The Jaishankar-Lavrov talks came a week after Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed in a phone conversation the state of global energy and food markets in the backdrop of the Ukraine crisis. News now from Karnataka, where heavy rains have disrupted normal life in coastal areas and Mulnad region, causing damage to the life and properties in the affected areas. Due to the heavy downpour, rivers are in spate, agricultural fields and low-lying areas have been flooded. The district administration have declared holiday for schools and colleges in affected districts. Landslides have been reported in hilly areas of Kodagu and Dakshina Kannada districts. A landslide at Panjikalu village has resulted in the death of 3 persons. The water level of the Tungabhadra Dam in Koppal district reached the danger mark due to incessant rain. The dam is constructed along the Tungabhadra river. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu administered the oath to 27 newly elected members of Rajya Sabha on Friday. They include Union Ministers Nirmala Sitharaman and Piyush Goyal, along with Jairam Ramesh, Mukul Wasnik, Jayant Chaudhary, Surendra Singh Nagar, Dr. K. Lakshman and Dr. Lakshmikant Bajpayee. 57 members were elected to the Rajya Sabha in the recent biennial elections. Addressing the members, the chairman said the upcoming monsoon session of the House will also be conducted with COVID safeguards of keeping proper distance and related norms. He urged the members to maintain the dignity and decorum of the House by following the rules and conventions.
My only appeal to the members is be regular. During the session, be in the session, be in the House, and also try to participate in debates. You have ample opportunities, question, answer, and also you have discussions. You also have bills coming up brought by the government from time to time, and also private members' bill, other provisions are all there. So you have ample opportunities, try to utilize them to the maximum possible extent.
NDA's presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu visited her home state Odisha and Uttar Pradesh to seek support for her candidature. Presidential elections are slated to be held on 18th of July. Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik has also appealed for support to her. The Supreme Court will hear a petition filed by the Uddhav Thackeray-led faction opposing the appointment of Eknath Shinde as the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. The hearing has been fixed for July 11th. Union Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports Anurag Thakur launched revised schemes of cash awards, national welfare and pension for sportspersons. He also inaugurated a web portal on Friday in New Delhi. The Finance Ministry has given relief to domestic airlines operating international flights from 11% basic excise duty on purchase of aircraft fuel from oil marketing companies. The Jammu and Kashmir Administrative Council has given administrative approval of 1,623 crore for flood management of Jhelum and its tributaries. The fund is aimed at protecting flood-prone areas along the river in 6 districts. 18,815 new COVID cases were reported in the last 24 hours. The number of patients under treatment has now reached 1,22,335. Indian Navy's stealth frigate INS Tarkash has reached Djibouti. As part of long-range overseas deployment, it conducted maritime partnership exercises with the Sudan Navy. Now, let us look at some stories from the world of business and economy. The GST Council has set up a group of ministers chaired by Haryana Deputy Chief Minister Dushyant Chautala to suggest required changes in the law for setting up the GST Appellate Tribunal. The GST Council, chaired by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and comprising the state ministers, had last week decided to constitute a group of ministers to address various concerns raised by states in relation to constitution of the GSTAT. The panel would recommend required amendments in the GST law to ensure that the legal provisions maintaining and the right federal balance and are in the line with the overall objective of uniform taxation within the country. The 6-member GOM will consult legal experts for formulating its recommendations and will submit report to the Council by July 31st. Investor Rakesh Jhunjhunwala backed Akasa Airlines got the DGCA's nod to launch commercial operations later this month. In a statement, founder CEO Vinay Dubey said the airline will start commercial operations from the end of July. The airline plans to have 18 Boeing 737 MAX aircrafts by the end of the fiscal year. The union government directed edible oil companies to reduce MRP of cooking oils by up to Rs 15 per litre to pass on the benefit of the fall in global commodity prices to consumers. Following the directive, Mother Dairy, which markets soybean, rice bran and other edible oils under the Dhara brand, slashed prices by Rs 14 per litre. Other companies are also likely to follow suit. Prices of sunflower oil are expected to come down over the next fortnight. In a big boost to India's Make in India campaign, indigenous defence exports recorded the highest ever sale worth 13,000 crores, a surge of over 54% over the previous year. Countries in Southeast Asia, Middle East and Africa are among prominent buyers of Indian defence items and technology. India's sugar exports also registered a stellar high of over 1,200% as compared to 2013-14, with Indian sugar and sugar confectionery products worth over Rs 11,370 crores being exported during the months of April-May in 2022 as compared to Rs 840 crore during the same period in 2013-14. Prime Minister Modi's call for rebranding the Indian toy story also received a shot in the arm as exports of locally made toys went up by as much as 61%, with a near 70% reduction in imports. A number of steps taken by the government under its Make in India campaign, including a 300% duty on imported Chinese toys, helped the local toy industry. Continuing its upward march, the BSE Sensex notched 300%, while the NSE Nifty went up by 88 points, with L&T, NTPC, ICICI and Bharti Airtel among the top gainers. Tata Steel, Indus IND Bank, Maruti Suzuki and TCS lost 2%. Markets in Asia and Europe are also ended higher, with only Shanghai settling marginally lower. Prime Minister Modi on Friday asserted that real economic development is not possible without inclusion. He was addressing the Arun Jaitley Memorial Lecture in Delhi. Listening the development work in India, the Prime Minister said, in the last 8 years, 9 crore free LPG connections have been given, 10 crore toilets built, 45 crore bank accounts were opened, 209 new medical colleges created. The emphasis was on people-centric policy instead of populism to overcome the COVID epidemic.
हमने पॉलिसी को पॉपुलिस्ट इंपल्सिस के दबाव में नहीं आने दिया। पीपल्स पल्स के अनुसार फैसले लेना और पॉपुलिज्म के सामने हथियार डाल देने में क्या फर्क होता है, ये कोविड काल में हिंदुस्तान ने देखा है और देखा है नहीं, दुनिया को दिखाया है।
It's time for a short break here. On the other side, G20 meeting of foreign ministers struggles for consensus on pressing global issues.
Why did India join the Commonwealth in 1949? And how did India's joining it transformed the organization.
There are certain geopolitical issues where India finds a challenge from certain other P5 countries to deal with, and probably Commonwealth doesn't have those challenges here.
The question of perception of Commonwealth as an organization that brings value to the table and resources.
Even if you have family history of diabetes, good lifestyle measures can prevent diabetes for a very long time.
People with diabetes can have fruits, but in moderation.
To hear answers to some of the most commonly asked questions about diabetes, join us on Healthy India, only on Sansad TV.
Welcome back. Time now for some other global updates. Top diplomats from the world's richest and the largest developing nations are trying to find common ground in Indonesian town of Bali over Russia's war in Ukraine and how to deal with its global impacts. But the talks on Friday were knocked off balance by two unexpected political developments. Here are the details.
The G20 meeting opened just hours after British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced his resignation on Thursday. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss left immediately. The meeting was barely underway when former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was shot. The two shocking incidents apart, consensus appeared to remain elusive amid the deepening East-West split that was driven by China and Russia on the one side and the United States and Europe on the other. For the first time since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, along with many others, were in the same room. Both Johnson and Abe were well known to the G20 family, having participated in numerous similar conferences and leaders' summits in the past. One goal of Friday's meeting was to lay the groundwork for the upcoming G20 summit that Indonesia will host in November. Many of the participants expressed their shock at Abe's assassination. The Indonesian foreign minister urged the group, that included Lavrov, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, Blinken and several European counterparts, to overcome mistrust for the sake of a planet confronting multiple challenges. She said poor and developing countries now face the brunt of fuel and grain shortages resulting from the war in Ukraine. She added the G20 has a responsibility to step up to deal with the matter to ensure the rules-based global order remains relevant. Notwithstanding her appeal, there seemed little prospect for achieving the consensus on weighty issues that have been a hallmark of past gatherings. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
China and Argentina will increase cooperation on the Belt and Road project at a bilateral meet on the sidelines of the G20 foreign ministers meet at Bali, Indonesia. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi appreciated Argentina's friendship with China. The Argentine foreign minister thanked China for its help in Argentina joining BRICS. 2022 is the 50th anniversary of the diplomatic ties between the two countries. Twitter has said it removes 1 million spam accounts each day in a call with executives that aimed to shed from the light on the company's fake and bot accounts as it tussles with Elon Musk's over spam bots. The Tesla CEO, who has offered to buy Twitter for $44 billion, has threatened to walk away from the deal if the company can't show that less than 5% of its daily active users are automated spam accounts. Twitter said the spam accounts represent well below 5% of its active user base each quarter. American basketball star Brittany Griner pleaded guilty to drug possession charges on the second day of her trial in a Russian court. Griner was detained at Moscow airport on charges of possessing a canister containing cannabis oil. She could be sentenced up to 10 years in prison. A senior Russian diplomat said earlier no action could be taken by Moscow on Griner's case until the trial was over. After a guilty plea for room for negotiations for a swap with the United States is now open. Continuing its crackdown on corruption in high places, China has arrested the former Vice Minister of Public Security, Sun Lujian, faces accusations of selling government positions, manipulating stock prices and illegally possessing firearms. In one of the most high-profile corruption trials in years, President Xi Jinping's war on corruption has ensured numerous serving and retired high-ranking officials in what some believe as being politically motivated prosecutions. Sun, who is also accused of abandoning his post amid the COVID-19 outbreak, has pleaded guilty. Sydney got some relief after a week of rains, but floodwaters continue to rise in the Australian state of New South Wales, Hunter region. The surrounding rural and suburban areas are inundated by the floodwaters. New South Wales Premier surveyed flood-affected areas in the Hunter region by helicopter. Over 50,000 people have been impacted by recent floods, with 67 evacuations orders and 22 current evacuation warnings still in place. Time now for all the sporting action. Starting with hockey, India lost 3-4 to New Zealand in their final Pool B match, but still remained in contention for a quarter-final berth of the FIH Women's Hockey World Cup after finishing third in their group. In cricket, India beat England by 50 runs in the first T20I of the three-match series here. Opting to bat, India posted 198 for 8, riding on Hardik Pandya's 33-ball 51. The visitors then returned to dismiss England for 148 in 19.3 overs at Southampton. On to badminton, PV Sindhu lost to second seed Tai Tzu Ying of the Chinese Taipei in the quarterfinals of the Malaysian Masters at Kuala Lumpur today. Tai won the match 21-13, 12-21, 21-12. HS Pranoy has reached the semi-finals of the Malaysian Masters. In the quarterfinals, Pranoy defeated Japan's Kante Tsuneyama 25-23, 22-20. In tennis, abdominal injury has forced Rafael Nadal to pull out of Wimbledon ahead of the semi-final. Nadal's withdrawal sends Nick Kyrgios into the final. That's all we have in today's news. For more updates, keep watching Sansad Television. Good night.